Mulholland Drive was premiered at the 2001 Cannes Film Festival, where it won the Best Directors Award. The film seemed destined for success, but sadly that didn't come through the box office. Time has rectified that though, and today the film is highly regarded as the classic it always was, culminating in this great 4K release. I think this film is best described as a film noir, and it is perhaps interesting that Laura Harring's character adopts the name Rita from a poster she sees of the film Gilda, in which Rita Hayworth plays the femme fatale. Naomi Watts plays Betty, and these two leading ladies are brilliant in their respective roles. It had an estimated budget of $15 million, but only grossed $20 million at the worldwide box office. It's one of those great films where the home movie market came to the rescue. The original concept was for it to be the pilot episode of a television series, and that was shot. The first 2/3 of the film we now know are essentially what would have been shot for that TV pilot, but when that was rejected, it was later picked up by Studio Canal, who wanted it to be remade as a feature film. The last half hour of the film we now know would presumably have been the basis for the concluding episode of the series. When you press play on either the 4K or the Blu-ray disc, there is a title card that displays that states the 4K restoration was undertaken by Studio Canal and Criterion Collection in 2021. The original 35mm camera negative was transferred at 4K with sound from the original 5.1 mix. Picture and sound was supervised by David Lynch and director of photography Peter Denning. However, film editor Mary Sweeney did not edit on the original negative. Editing was done in a computer and then presumably put back out to 35mm negative. Could this be why there is a slightly coarser grain structure than you would expect for a film made in 2001, or was it a deliberate choice? Whatever the case, the opening scenes through to the end of the opening titles have more grain, thereby indicating optical effects rather than computer effects, but there is less grain thereafter. Apparently some of the opening was shot by David Lynch himself on video, so that would have added to the overall lack of clarity. I'm not going to go into detail of the plot of this one, but I will say a couple of things. Firstly, if you are sitting down to watch Mulholland Drive for the first time and are expecting a conventional murder mystery, then at the end of it you may feel disappointed. Secondly, there are clues to the true makeup and meaning of the film early on, most notably perhaps when Naomi Watts' Betty character, excited about finally getting to Hollywood, says, "Now I'm in this dream place." The whole film has a soft, dreamlike look, so right from the start, you know something is off. It's all rather convoluted and really needs to be thought about for a while before watching the film for a second time to discern it all. However, the first extra featurette, Back to Mulholland Drive, will pretty much do it all for you, and after watching that you may find that you want to watch the feature again just to see everything fall into place. Now that I've mentioned the extras, they are all included on the 4K disc as well as on the Blu-ray disc, so this is another occasion where thankfully, if you want to watch the extras, you don't have to swap between the two. Angelo Badalamenti is the composer of the haunting score, and there's an interview with him in the extras. He started working with Lynch during the making of Blue Velvet. They seemed to get on rather well, became friends, and have been working together ever since. Now, interestingly, Lynch asked Badalamenti to play one of the mafia roles in the film, and he's the one who doesn't like his cappuccino. Now, the menacing character he portrays in that is nothing like the lovely character we see in his interview. So it's quite interesting how, just because someone has got the right look, Lynch thought, I can get a non-actor here to play one of those deadly mafia roles, and it works really well. I wouldn't want to offer him a coffee. Then again, maybe if he was sitting at his piano, I'd feel a bit more relaxed. Anyway, his beautiful music set the atmosphere for this film, and Lynch was so impressed with it that he took it out with him and he played it on set to get the actors into the right mood. The sound on both the 4K and the Blu-ray is the original 5.1, and I would not want anything else. The standout sequence is when Rebecca Del Rio is singing in the Silencio nightclub, and it really did sound better than if she'd have been in the room personally. However, you may need a high-end system to reproduce things that well, but I thought the sound was terrific, and that's what you would expect, as it is the original theatrical soundtrack. One minor criticism I would make about this release is that there aren't any chapters on the disc, not on the Blu-ray or the 4K, and that seems rather odd. So to get back to re-look at something, I was having to scan through the whole disc, and when you're going through to 2 hours, it can seem to take an eternity at times. But fortunately, these Panasonic players really do have a good fast forward, but that's just one thing to bear in mind. Now the Blu-ray, after you've looked at the 4K, it looks colourless, lifeless, dull compared to that 4K. So this one really is one of those examples where HDR makes a fabulous difference. And of course this one does come with Dolby Vision for those people equipped with Dolby Vision, and I'm quite often told that this looks better than standard HDR or HDR10. I don't think it's always the case, but people who have got Dolby Vision will be pleased to know that it's on this disc. The aspect ratio is 1:8:5:1, but I opened up the masking fully on all sides to blow it up as big as possible, and this enhanced the enjoyment of the film no end. One other thing that I need to mention is that there is an erotic sex scene between the two leading ladies, and that may require consideration before deciding whether or not to make a purchase. Other than that, I think it's a film enthusiast film, and I do think it is worth considering. Now, you have two options if you do decide to make a purchase. The first release was the Criterion Collection, Studio Canal coming approximately 6 months after that, I believe. Clark Teddles has taken a look at the Criterion Collection release, and other than the packaging, I think the two releases are identical. I will leave a link to Clark's video in the description below. I think Mulholland Drive is a classic and a lesson in great filmmaking. A lot of people have been asking me to do a review of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition with the restored IMAX scenes. I finally purchased a copy and arrived a few days ago, so maybe in the next few days I'll finally get to look at that and start working on what to put into a review. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and perhaps consider subscribing so I'll be encouraged to carry on creating content like this again in the future. Until the next video, bye bye for now.